Hey guys, we are back with another episode. This one is going to be regarding anxiety and some aggression, like reactivity, resource guarding, that kind of stuff. We're going to break down anxiety into the two different kinds of anxiety. There's general anxiety and there's also separation anxiety. So, let's talk about the causes of both of those. One, genetics. Just learned from basically the mother dog and passed along through their genes. I mean, there's no other way to break it down other than that. Second way is too much human affection. It's the biggest killer in dogs these days. All these dogs are melting because people are just giving them too much human affection.
Mentally, they just can't handle it.
Yeah.
They end up becoming more addicted to human affection, which then causes the anxiety because now they're anxious over, like, when am I going to get my next pet? When am I going to get to lay down and cuddle with my owner? Or whatever they're thinking.
Yeah. And it's almost like a drug to them at that point. They just become addicted to it, and they don't know what to do without it. They feel like they have to have it to live.
Right.
And without it, they're like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? So you'll see a lot of pacing and a lot of nudging with the nose or with the body or whatever. It's like, you just, come on, just pet me. I need it right now.
Right.
A lot of whining, barking at owners, that kind of stuff. It's like nonstop, I need this now. Pet me.
Yeah, they're like commanding you to show the affection.
Yeah.
It's just like a human, when they become addicted to a certain kind of drug, they feel like after they're so addicted to it that they cannot move forward without it. They cannot go on without it. They have to have that next fix, or they have to have that next high to continue. It's the same concept. It causes more damage than not. Like in the beginning, dogs, they don't even know what human affection is. They have no idea what it is until we introduce it to them, because it's basically for our need more than it is for their need.
We're using the dogs as a crutch.
Yeah. In some cases, I understand that it is a need for, like, therapy dogs and, in those kinds of cases. However, when they're just your pet dog and you are consistently showing it too much affection, that's when all of these issues come into play.
Yeah. Some dogs can handle it, but most dogs just can't. Too much affection, they just cannot handle it mentally. Another cause is too much freedom. If they just have freedom to roam the whole house and the yard, you'll see a lot more pacing. They don't know what to do because they're not being told what to do.
Right.
Instead, it's just like, well, I got to find something to do, and I don't know what to do. I'm not getting affection, so I have to find something. So they just pace in circles or pace back and forth, go window to window looking for the owners or whatever the case is.
Right.
But what is a good way to keep dogs from pacing around if we're home?
Place
is perfect. That is like one of the main things that you can use to melt that anxiety away.
Or even the kennel.
Yeah.
If they are, doing too much pacing, you guys are sitting in the living room watching a movie with your family and they're just up pacing around, put them in the kennel, let them, calm down in an hour, let them back out, and, you definitely want to try to correct that stuff, because if you don't, it's definitely just going to continue to get worse. They're going to just continue to pace, they're going to continue to whine, they're going to consistently want that human affection, basically. Mm-hmm. I mean, it all boils back down to human affection.
You're going to hear us say this a lot tonight.
It is, yeah.
Because everything that we have found through research and through famous trainers research.
Yep.
It all comes down to too much human affection, too much freedom, and not holding dogs accountable.
Yep.
So, general anxiety, the signs are excessive whining, that need for affection, and the pacing.
Yep.
Those are your 3 main things. Now, with separation anxiety, the signs are pretty much the same. But there's a little bit more on top of that. Now, when you go to leave the house, what's the dog start doing?
They're whining, they're barking excessively, trying to get your attention or whatever it is. Come back, get me, whatever.
Yeah.
If they aren't crate trained or kennel trained, whatever you guys call it, they're going to be very destructive. Get in your trash. Eat your doors, your couch, your pillows.
And we've talked about that in our prior episodes. Why is that dangerous? Because it can cause a blockage. Yep. And now we have to give our dogs to the vet for them to give them a surgery that costs like $5,000 or $6,000 if they make it through.
Yeah, and it's not cheap either way.
Yeah. So, we want to prevent that at all costs.
Yes.
But some other signs of separation anxiety, dogs might start breaking out of cages if you have them in a crate. You start to notice some of these signs and you're like, all right, dog's been tearing stuff up. We're going to put them in the crate. And now they're breaking out of the crate. They're hurting themselves, especially if it's a wire crate. Those are easy to break out of for dogs. Consider spending some more money on a good crate in that case. Also, you can get a Wi-Fi camera, set it up on the crate, act like you're leaving the house, dog starts to break out. Now you are down the block or whatever, into the driveway, and you correct them with the e-collar for breaking out of the cage. And what happens, just like any unwanted behavior, when they get corrected, it starts
to subside. It's going to start to, deplete itself at that point. I'm not going to continue to do that because that's uncomfortable and I don't want to feel that anymore. So eventually they're going to get the picture and stop doing the things that they're causing to get the discomfort from.
Just becomes not worth it to them anymore. Breaking out of the cage sucks.
Yep.
I get zapped every time I try to break out of the cage, so
right.
I'm not going to break out of the cage anymore.
No.
Some other things, more pacing. So, say you guys have a camera at home and you're just watching your dog, and they're just nonstop back and forth pacing. Maybe window to window, maybe just on the floor, spinning in circles, or room to room, whatever. The dog doesn't know what to do because they're not being told what to do. Right. They're not being forced to do anything.
And that's where all that anxiety comes into play, the pacing and stuff. Timmy said it best, that they're not being told what to do.
Yeah. So,
that's where, the freedom comes into play. And giving your dog too much freedom and not having any rules or order or structure in the home, it makes him anxious because he literally doesn't know what to do with himself. Yeah. My owner's not telling me what to do. I don't know what to do. Am I doing something right? Am I doing something wrong? Well, she's not correcting me, but she's not telling me I'm doing a good job. So basically, they are looking for that guidance. That direction, that...
But they don't have it.
Sense of, what am I supposed to do?
So, the pacing's a big thing. And then you'll see dogs laying by the windows, laying by the doors, just watching, just waiting. Where's my owner?
Where did he go?
Are they coming back? And, that's constantly just going through their mind. I want them to come back. I want them to come back. And with all this going through their mind, with that anxiety, they have to find something to do to keep their mind off of it. So that's where that destruction starts. Yeah.
And before I lost my train of thought there, I was thinking, kennel training, this is a good example of not only having your dog go into the kennel when you're leaving. So, like, if you are one of them pet owners that only make their dog go into the kennel when you are leaving, they start associating that with it.
Yeah.
So, if they form any kind of separation anxiety throughout, your guys' time together, that's when the breaking out of the kennel is going to come into play. So, rewind back to a couple, last episode maybe, and we were talking about kennel training when you're at home. Having times where the dog is in the kennel while you're at home versus not only when you're leaving. Like, try to balance it out a little bit. That will help the separation anxiety subside as well, because now he's not just associating it with, oh, my owner's leaving because they're making me go into my kennel.
Yeah.
Now they can start to think, okay, well, this is my place that I get to come and be in during the day when you're at home, during the night when you're sleeping, not just when you're leaving. Dogs are smart.
Yeah.
You got to take that kind of stuff into consideration. They will start to associate your body language, the items that you grab, your keys, putting your shoes on. Like, they start to understand those,
Those little cues.
Yeah.
So think about it this way. Dogs don't communicate in any way other than body language.
Right.
It's the only way that they communicate. Now, they bark and growl, but that's more like, growling is just like a warning. Barking is just, it could be a playful noise or an alert. But it's not like my dogs are barking at each other to talk. That's not a thing. Dogs don't bark at each other to talk. So, the only way that they communicate is by that body language. Like, my two dogs say that they're playing, and one starts to raise its fur a little bit because it's had enough, it's getting irritated or whatever. The other dog leaves it alone because it sees the raised fur.
Right.
And that's how they communicate.
Yeah.
So that's all that they know when they're looking at us.
Mm-hmm.
So especially when we're teaching stuff like downstays and whatnot, and the dog starts to get cued off of, well, right before he says free, he does this little head scratch. My owner does. Then he says free. Well, now you start to do that involuntary head scratch, and the dog gets up and comes to you. And you're thinking why does the dog keep getting up? Well, it's because
he's paying attention to our body language.
So, same thing with hanging your keys up on the hook, putting your shoes on, putting your coat on.
Yep.
All these things, the dog is watching you. They know exactly what you're doing and what's going to happen afterwards.
Yep.
So, take advantage of the little things like taking a shower. Put your dog in the kennel during that time.
Yes, very good.
Mowing your lawn.
Yes.
It's a good time. Taking a nap. I mean, anytime that you can't supervise your dog, if you're going to be doing laundry downstairs and you're not going to be keeping an eye on the dog, put them up for a little bit.
Right.
It's not going to hurt anything. They'll probably take a nap in the meantime.
Yes.
The nice thing about the cage is it forces the dog to stay in one spot.
Yes.
And when we are not home, we want the dogs to stay in one spot, lay down,
sleep. Yeah.
That's it.
We don't want you to do anything. We don't want you to be up roaming the house. We don't want you to be up chewing our pillows and tearing up our couch and eating our shoes. Whatever they like to do.
Yeah. Now, some people want their dog to be the protector of the house.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. However, that requires training. The dogs need to be trained in that regard before they're just given the freedom to roam the house.
Right.
Because if they're just trusted to roam the house and now they swallow a couch cushion and end up having an expensive surgery or dying, was it really worth it? Because to me, it's not.
No.
It's just not. I don't want to come home to a dead dog,
no.
Or even a severely injured dog. I don't want that, no. And I don't want that for any of you either. So, don't put all your trust in the dog when we have to realize that we are letting a wild animal come into our house and are trying to teach it to behave like humans. When It's
that's
not a
not
human.
what their that's not what their mindset is. That's they're thinking like an animal. They're an animal.
Yeah.
They are a predator.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do whatever they have to do to survive. So, yes, is it something that pet owners think, oh, I can trust my dog, and I know that my dog is this or is that, and I know that I don't have to worry about those things. But in the end, no matter what, your dog is going to do whatever it has to do to survive. So if he is feeling threatened or he has the option to do whatever it is, like, he's still going to do whatever he wants to do because he wants the most pleasurable outcome.
Yeah.
And he's going to do whatever he has to do to survive. So if he feels like you left him out to fend for himself, he's going to do whatever he has to do to survive. Like, that's the mindset that they have regardless. It's a crazy concept. I used to be one of those pet owners that, like, I can trust my dog, it's fine. You can't. Even with all of the training in the world, you still cannot trust them.
Yeah. Can't put all your trust in them because at the end of the day, they're still an animal.
Yep.
And they have animal instincts.
Yes, thank you. I was trying to think of that word. Instincts.
So if we have the dogs out in the backyard and they see a deer or a squirrel or a rabbit or whatever, or a cat, and they want to run after it,
mm-hmm.
then chances are they're probably going to run after
Yep.
it. And you know what they're not caring about during that time? You and what you want. What are they thinking about? Me, what I want.
Yep.
And I want that deer. I want that rabbit, whatever it is. So, how do we correct that? Well, we want to have an e-collar on our dogs if they're going to be off leash so that we have the ability to correct that.
Yep.
Or else, what are we going to do? Chase our dog down with some treats?
It's never going to happen. Like, I don't even think, if they are in that moment of, like, I'm going to get this other animal, there's no way that they're, oh, my owner's got treats for me. Let me just go back and get those.
And that's called prey drive. When they are after something, they just have the drive and they almost like have adrenaline and block everything else out. So we have to use higher levels of correction to get through to them during that time.
Yeah.
But that's a completely different topic.
Yeah, we just kind of went off on a tangent a little bit, but that's okay.
So what we're getting at is crate your dog. Don't be afraid to crate your dog. It doesn't matter if you're taking a 5-minute break to go outside or whatever. A lot can happen in 5 minutes. A lot can happen in 8 hours.
Well, and just remember, your dog cannot tell time. Like, Timmy, I think, used this example a while back. Regardless if you're going outside for 15 minutes to, I don't know, take the trash out and have some fresh air versus you leaving for work for 8 hours. Like, they literally do not know the time difference and all of that. It's the same thing to them. You just come back. That's all it is to them. Oh, there's my owner. She's back now. Yeah. They don't know how long that they were in there.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll just lay down and sleep. So they'll nap when you're gone. Unless they hear a noise or something, then they'll wake up for a little bit, lay back down.
Yep.
And they don't have a sense of time.
Yep.
So, best way to keep anxiety down or to make it better or to prevent it in the future is limit freedom, limit human affection, and hold them accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll hear us say that
many
more times.
Yeah.
But
it's the main thing though. Like, referring back to any kind of like training or like respect from your animal, it's all of that. Like, I'll pet you when I want to pet you, and I'm only going to pet you for a short time. It's not going to be a consistent, like, oh, I'm going to watch this movie for 3 hours and pet you the whole time. Like, no, like, love on it for a minute and make it get down. Make it lay down, go to place. You know, and just like with the accountability, when they are doing something that you do not want them to do, but you're not correcting them, what is it doing? Oh, no, Fifi, don't do that. And
The
you're not
issue-
doing anything. Yeah, and you're not doing anything. There's no, like, correction or no meaningful, like, punishment behind it or consequence. They're going to continue to do it. It's just like a child.
The issue won't go away on its own. If you ignore the issue, it will not go away. If you downplay it like, well, it's not that big of a deal, it's not going to change. The only way it'll change is if you educate the dog to change. And that's, hey, I don't like that. Stop it.
Yes.
So I'm going to correct you for doing that so that you won't continue doing that.
Right.
And then also, we want to do things for the dog that are good for affection for the dog. So, like, play ball with the dog. Take the dog
Walking.
places.
Yes.
Take them on walks, yep. Take them out in public. Let them explore the world with you. But they need to leave everything alone. Like, I don't care if there's loud noises or other dogs around or whatever. Leave everything alone. Just pay attention to me. That's all. That's all we want.
Yep.
And now the dog has good affection from the owners.
Healthy.
Healthy affection. It's not this constant stroking and petting, because it's not for the dog. That's for us. And when we start to use the dogs as emotional crutch, that's where we start to break the dogs down mentally. And it only gets worse. And this anxiety issue isn't going away. It's getting worse.
Yep.
And it's all human caused. Anxiety did not exist when dogs lived in the world on their own. Human affection didn't exist to them. Anxiety did not exist to them.
Yep. We've literally created it for them.
All right, so let's get into the aggression side. So people hear aggression and they think it's psychological. The dog is just messed up. It's going to go attack somebody or whatever. A lot of times, like 95% of the time, it is behavioral.
Yes.
It is a behavior that has gotten worse and worse and worse over time.
Because there's no correction.
That's right. No accountability.
Yes.
And what else is there a lot of times? Too much human affection.
Yep. Too much freedom.
Too much freedom.
Yeah. It all coincides, like, together. The anxiety, the separation anxiety, reactivity, resource guarding, that all that stuff plays into, like, you know, the aggression, and all of it is human affection and too much freedom.
So you said 2 words. You said reactivity, 3 words, and resource guarding.
Yeah.
So why don't we kind of explain to them what those are?
Okay.
So what is reactivity?
Reactivity is just the dog reacting to just everything. Cars driving by, other dogs walking by, the leaf blowing in the yard.
Yeah.
That squirrel jumping from tree to tree, that bunny that he sees at night, every single thing that he notices or sees.
Yep. And some dogs will react to everything. Some dogs are just specific to like one thing. So they see another person and they're like, nope, I'm
Gonna react to that.
I'm reacting to that. I'm barking, lunging, growling, whatever the case.
Yeah.
Some it's just dogs, some just vehicles.
Yeah.
Some, like she said, can be everything. So we know that those issues that we were just talking about lead up to the reactivity. But what are some other things, some other traits that the owners do that can cause that reactivity?
Not be in the leader role either.
Yeah. Have to establish yourself as a leader to the dog. That means you want permission for everything from the dog.
Everything.
There's not this whole, the dog has the freedom to do whatever he wants. Because now the dog's like, all right, well, I'm on the same level as you. And then that carries over to the walk. the dog's on leash, and now the dog thinks that it's his job to protect the owner because they're on that same level to the dog.
Yeah.
So a lot of times reactivity is also from like a lack of confidence.
Yeah, for sure.
So the dog,
he feels like everything that he's reacting to is a potential threat, basically.
Yeah.
That's why he's reacting to it. I just smacked myself in the face with my...
It happens.
But, yeah, so Timmy saying the lack of confidence, he now thinks that all of these things around me are going to potentially threaten me or harm me, so I have to react to it so that it's not going to get to me before I get to it. And that is where the lack of confidence in us as the dog's owner comes into play, because if he had more confidence in us, then he would look to us like, is this okay, Mom? Is this okay, Dad? That's like, right. Whatever, what's going on? Like, do I need to react? Do I need to, they are looking to you to let them know that this situation is okay. That leaf that's blowing in the yard is fine. It's fine. It's not going to harm you. That car driving by is fine. It's not going to get you. It's not going to run us over. So you have to let your dog know that these situations, these things out in the world are okay, so that he doesn't get that reactivity, that aggression doesn't come into play.
But we have to remember, it's going to sound silly, but the dogs don't speak English. Yeah. So we can't have a conversation with them and say, Christina, this is fine.
It's okay, buddy. Because they don't understand any of it. We're basically speaking a foreign language to them. And outside of their commands that they already know.
Right. So all that they know is he's talking to me or she's talking to me in a soothing tone. So that means that they are rewarding me. I'm doing a good job. So now the dog is either scared or just feeling like it's their job to protect during that time. And we're talking to them in a soothing tone like, hey, it's okay. It's fine. That dog's not going to hurt you. That car's not going to hurt you. But we're telling the dog, good boy. Good boy. Yeah. Every time you bark at something, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy. And guess what? It gets worse and worse and worse until now the dog is lunging, trying to get after that. And if that leash fell out of the owner's hand, now you got somebody getting attacked by your dog. Or someone else's dog getting attacked by your dog. Or a dog fight or whatever.
Or he gets hit by a car because he thinks he has to run after this car and lunge and,
And all of those things can lead to potential injury or death to the dog. And now we have vet bills to pay. We might have lawsuits to have to deal with because of other owners or
us. I mean, let's take some accountability on our own end. Like, how many of us don't correct our dog all the time for the stuff that we don't want happening because we're either too lax or, I mean, I'm sure laziness can come into play. I mean, there's so many, like, we have to take accountability for our own actions when it comes to our pets as well, our dogs as well. Like, you have to follow through and you have to stay consistent on the corrections. Doing it one time on this day and not doing it the next time on that day is not going to fix the issue. It's not going to be a positive outcome because now the dog has got mixed emotions, mixed feelings. He's being sent mixed signals and he's not understanding, am I supposed to? Am I not supposed to? Like,
we want to hold the dog accountable when they do something wrong because let's face it, they're dogs. There's going to be things that they bark at. Absolutely. So if we're walking down the road with our dog and they bark at something, and then we press this little magic button on this, then the dog's like, you know what? That sucked. And maybe they bark at something else 20 feet down the road, and we correct them again. They're like, you know what? I'm going to stop doing that. And why am I going to stop doing that?
Because I don't like the way it feels.
That's right.
It's not pleasurable.
Yeah, because it sucks.
Yeah, look at it like that. Like, the dog is going to do whatever is most pleasurable to him. So if he's continuing to feel something that he doesn't like, he's going to associate it with, okay, I'm doing this. I don't like the way that it feels after I do this, so I'm going to stop doing it.
So, a psychological trait or a psychological behavior is something that the dog's just like hardwired to not be able to change. So if you've ever heard of like true dog aggression or true human aggression, it's where the dog is just hardwired to want to kill people, want to kill other dogs. But reactivity is like not to that extent. No. This is 100% behavioral and correctable. So the dog is thinking something along the lines of, I need to protect my owner, or I need to protect myself because my owner's not protecting me. One of the two. And that's why they're acting this way. And because they haven't been corrected for acting that way.
A lot of it comes down to the lack of confidence in us as pet owners, because he is now like, my owner's not doing anything, I have to do something. Because first off, that's what their instincts are. Like, if they feel threatened at all, that's their first instinct is what? To react. Mm-hmm. I mean, even with humans, like, if I feel threatened and my boyfriend or husband isn't going, he ain't doing anything, I'm going to react.
Right.
So, just think about it like that. So the more confidence that your dog has in you, the less likely he's going to react to that stuff.
So it all starts in the house. Start everything with teaching the dog that you are the leader.
Yep.
And that they just need to listen to you. And everything.
Yep.
They need to ask permission for everything. And now the dog will start to realize, like, well, I guess we're not on the same level after all. Keep the dog off the furniture. Out of your bed. Keep the dog treated like a dog.
Yes.
Not like a human. They're not humans, and they can't handle being treated like humans. It all goes back to that affection spiel we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
We can't do that to the dogs because they can't handle it. And they get mixed signals on where they fall in the pack.
Yep.
Am I leading here, or is the human leading? Where are we at? And we have to make the dog realize we're the leader. That doesn't mean that we're these alpha beating our dogs, whatever.
Right. No.
It's just like, follow me, listen to me, just like we lead our kids.
Yes.
That's it. It's all the same. But now we're teaching an animal how to not be a destructive animal and to live calmly in our house with us.
Right.
So let's talk about resource guarding then. What is resource guarding?
Resource guarding is when a dog becomes aggressive over a item or person that he deems valuable. Mm-hmm. So let's take the pet owner for an example. The dog, every time the dog and the owner go on a walk, the dog is growling and barking when another human approaches or another dog approaches, because now he feels like, this is mine. This is my valuable item. You're not going to come close to my item that I deem valuable.
Yeah.
And that's where like the aggression, the growling, the barking, the lunging, all of that comes into play. Dogs do it all like over their kennels. Dogs do it over their food. Dogs do it over the house, a yard. A lot of dogs who have fenced in yards or like the electric underground fence, who have freedom, too much freedom, they start to resource guard over their yard. People walking by, other dogs and owners walking by, they're growling, barking, charging at, that person walking by, because now he feels like, oh, they're coming into my space. This is my space. This is mine. I'm not going to allow you to do that. There's all kinds of examples I could go over with, but like that's a lot of it when a dog is resource guarding. And like a lot of people that aren't 100% educated on it, they think, oh, my dog is aggressive now. But it's not necessarily that he's aggressive. He is now just guarding that thing that he has that's valuable to him. He is going to bark and get loud and growl and let that individual or other dog know, like, this is mine, you're not coming near it, and I'm guarding this.
Yeah. And it could be anything. Toys, food, treats, areas like she said, the yard, rooms.
Yep.
Like, say that a kid is the dog's favorite person in the world, and they are sleeping in that kid's room, and you go to try to open the door, and now the dog is lunging and barking at you.
Mm-hmm. He's resource guarding at that point. Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things that it could be. I even had a client whose dog killed a bird and then stood over the bird and guarded it.
After he killed it?
Yeah. What? And she walked up to him trying to see what he was guarding.
Yeah.
And he's got a dead bird under him.
Oh my god.
And he's standoffish with her, and she's trying to approach him, and he's growling at her. His own owner.
No way, that's crazy.
It could be anything that the dog deems valuable. Anything.
Dead birds even.
So when she says they go hand in hand, that's another reason that reactivity could be caused on the walk, is the dog
is resource guarding the owner.
Yeah. So anything comes around the owner, and they're like, nope, you're not coming near the owner.
Yep.
This is my owner.
Yep.
He's valuable.
Yep.
So get away.
Yep. And that's what it,
So they kind of go hand in hand for that reason.
Yeah.
But resource guarding happens anywhere, not just on a walk.
Yeah.
So if your dog is laying in front of you and somebody walks into the room, like a guest or whatever, and the dog is guarding you, well, now the dog might act the same way.
Right.
So, what causes resource guarding?
Too much freedom.
That's one. Too much human affection.
Yep. Especially if they're resource guarding the owner. Yep. That's
genetics.
Yeah. Yes, genetics can definitely come into play. It's a learned behavior from. We can go back to the puppy and the mom.
Yeah.
If she's a resource guarder, like she is reactive or resource guarding like her puppies or, something that she finds valuable and her puppies are still there, they are now learning that I need to growl and bark when I find something that's valuable to me.
Those 8 weeks that the puppies are with the mom, that's like prime time for these dogs. They learn so much from the mother dog. So much. And a lot of them act exactly how the mother dog acted.
Yeah.
So we have to consider that in reactivity and resource guarding.
Yeah.
If the mom acts that way, like say the owner's walking up to the whelping box and she's guarding the whelping box because her puppies are in there and growling at the owner, barking at the owner, her little puppies are learning.
Yep.
They're like, all right,
I need to,
we'll do this.
Yep.
Because that's what mom does.
Yes.
So then that takes us to the next thing is, all right, when your dog is acting that way,
yep,
what should we do?
Correct it.
Correct him and hold him accountable.
Yes.
So that it doesn't continue, it doesn't get worse. Because it won't get better on its own.
No.
It won't get better until you educate the dog.
Right.
And to educate the dog, we have to correct them when they're doing something wrong.
Just like you would correct your kids when they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You don't want to continue to let them do something wrong so that in the future it gets worse and they could potentially get in more trouble. I mean, it's the same concept with the dog when it comes to resource guarding, because now we're not correcting our dog when they're resource guarding us, especially, and now somebody comes, over to the house and they go to give you a hug and your dog is like, oh no, you're not, and I'm gonna go ahead and bite you. I mean, that's a big one. What? So now your dog is in more trouble. Yeah. Now he's deemed an aggressive dog when in reality he's not really aggressive. He's just
behavioral. Yep. Remember, it's behavioral.
Yep. And now, you have all these other issues that come along with it. If you just nip it in the butt and correct it and, do your research and become educated on it, it can be managed.
Yeah. And it can be eliminated completely over time.
Yes.
So, what can we take away from everything that we've talked about? Don't
give your dog too much human affection.
Don't give your dog too much human affection. That is one. It's absolutely one. Second thing, hold your dog accountable when they do something wrong.
Yes.
If they're growling at somebody, they're barking at somebody, if they're pacing, if just you name it, anything that you don't like, if they're sniffing your shoes and you don't want them sniffing your shoes, correct them for it.
Yeah, get away from my shoes. Yeah.
So they don't continue sniffing, because what's sniffing going to lead to? Something else, right?
Yeah, chewing.
What's growling going to lead to? Do you guys know what growling means? What the dog is saying?
Well, if they could answer, I'm sure they're going to say probably not. Yeah.
Well, maybe not.
No, not always.
This is how I understand growling. I am going to bite you if you keep doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And I am not okay with that.
Yeah, because how many times have you been growled at by a dog and you're like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like, do I still approach? Do I run away? Like, growling is not like, come on in, let me get you a drink. Like, growling is that dog letting you know, like, I'm about to attack if you come any closer or take one more step or, whatever it is in the moment.
Yeah. So with growling, barking, lunging, all of these, we still use the lowest level that works on the e-collar. So whatever your level is for correction, try that. If that doesn't work, power up. Try the next level. If that doesn't work, power up. Try the next level. Don't be afraid to use the whole range of these e-collars.
Right.
Because they have 100 levels for a reason.
Yeah. I struggled when I first started training with numbers on the e-collar. Like, oh my gosh, I'm like up to 25 and it's not working because I needed to go up. I needed to continue to level up because that 25 level was not working. So I have taught myself not to even worry about the level or the number that it says on the remote. It really doesn't matter. As long as you are continuing to have the mindset that I'm using the lowest level that works. We're not saying use the highest level that works. We're saying use the lowest level that works. If that low number is 36, then that's the lowest number that's working. So like just
if it's 70,
it's 70. Yeah. Like there's going to be instances where you might get up and you feel like, oh my gosh, I just blew my dog up. No, you didn't, because there's a lot of distractions. He probably didn't even feel it that much.
He's got that adrenaline mindset.
Yeah.
He's blocking everything else out.
And it's not ever going to like literally harm your dog. It's just going to be uncomfortable in that very moment in time. Like, he's not harmed. It's not like we're blowing holes in his neck. Like, it's literally contracting muscles to cause discomfort.
Okay. So, continue to use the lowest level that works. I will tell you, for severe reactivity, for severe resource guarding, where the dog is like full on barking, lunging, pulling you towards whatever they are wanting to get, you're going to use a higher level than what you want to use.
Absolutely.
And that's just because the dog is in such a strong drive state during that time that the lower numbers, I can't talk, will not be felt by the dog.
No.
He won't feel it.
And like Timmy said, in a high distraction, them having a high drive and like their adrenaline is pumping through them, oh well, if it's 100, that's their fault.
Yeah.
Like,
because what are you trying to do when you're correcting the dog? You're trying to stop them from displaying the behavior that they're displaying. Why? Because you don't want that other person getting bit. You don't want that other dog getting bit. You don't want them running out in front of a car. Whatever it is.
Yep.
Because if that happens, you got some serious problems that are going to be coming.
Yep.
Whether it's vet bills, whether it's having to pay somebody's hospital bills.
The consequences afterwards is,
having your dog quarantined, potentially put down, deemed a dangerous dog or whatever. Like, it's just not worth it to me. No. So if I have to correct my dog on 100 after I've tried all the levels underneath there, then I'm still going to sleep fine at night because my dog didn't go and bite someone else or another dog.
Absolutely.
So you have to use the lowest level that works. You just have to. For resource guarding, the same thing.
Yep.
It's just lowest level. If you go jumping up to high levels, then it doesn't work. It does quite the opposite. The dog will like growl and then get all submissive immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. You got to find that balance, but it's got to be the lowest level that works.
Yeah. So I mean, like, power up slowly. I mean, when you're in a high, like, intense, like, pressure, like, situation, obviously you're gonna just power up and get it to
right.
go.
Yeah, you're not gonna sit here and like, all right, my dog's barking at somebody. I'm at, what is this at? 15. So I'm gonna go up. I'm at 20 now. All right. You just wasted 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And your dog might already be biting someone.
Oh,
Look,
yeah.
You're on 15. That didn't work. I'm gonna turn it, stem. That didn't work. Turn it, stem. Look, that fast, I just got it up to 39 with 2 turns.
Yeah.
Okay, so 39 might stop the behavior. Cool. Now I'm going to go back to the level that I was at when the dog was not in that drive state.
Right.
Now I'm back at 15. Everything's fine again. But next time, we're going to use the lowest level that works once again.
Yep.
Because maybe the next time they're not quite as distracted.
Well, yeah, they felt that discomfort, and they're gonna remember. They're gonna remember that feeling that they got after they reacted to whatever or guarded whatever. Like, oh, I don't really need to guard this. Like, that didn't feel good. There was something that I wanted to say. I should have said it during like the reactivity portion, which I mean we're basically talking about that still. Anyways, but a good way to nip the reactivity in the butt is pay attention to your dog's, like, his behavior. Pay attention to his, like, characteristics and, like, his alertness to stuff. If your dog is, like, chill, walking, and his ears fly up, and he's, like, looking around, and he's pretty aware of whatever's happening, right there is a good time for you to correct that.
Yeah, that's called arousal.
Yep.
The dog is getting aroused and getting ready to bark, lunge, whatever.
Yes.
So we want to correct during that arousal state. It's going to be a much lower correction than trying to correct during the bark, lunge, and whatever.
Yes.
So
that's what I wanted to let you guys know, that like if you
if
you pay attention to your dog, especially on like walks and like, you know, trips out in public or whatever, when they are so
distracted.
Yeah, so, you know, fixated on something, like you want to get that right now. Like, I'm going to correct you, like your ears flew up, you are pointing your nose in this direction, like something's over there that is getting your attention. Like, no. I'm going to correct. Get back over here. Look at me. You don't need to worry about that.
Yep.
So then that way I don't have to worry about if he's going to react or if he's going to start feeling some type of way and feel threatened, and now I got to guard my owner. Just let him know. And that comes back to like the confidence within you as well.
Basically, we want the dog to leave everything else alone.
Yeah.
So I don't care if it's loud noises. I don't care if there's cats, other dogs, vehicles, whatever. Just leave that alone and just pay attention to me.
Yep.
I got this, bud.
Yep.
All right?
Yep. And that's
I'm
what
going
it
to
is.
protect you.
Yeah.
You look to me for guidance. I will lead you.
Yep. And that's what it is. That's why we have to be confident as the pet owner. If we start showing signs of like nervousness and, oh my gosh, is this going to be like a moment, an explosion of my dog, you know, like they feel that.
Yeah.
Your dog feels your feelings, like your emotions. They can sense that stuff.
Yeah. And it's a lot of it's off of body language. Like, say your dog barks at cars and a car starts driving toward you and you're like, oh, okay, we're going to go over here.
Yep.
Then now the dog feeds off of that. Like, not only are we moving this way, but like
she's like
freaking out a little bit,
intimidated or
But so your dog is feeding off of that behavior that you're displaying, which tells the dog, okay, she's not okay with this.
Yes.
She's not confident with this.
I have to react.
So
I have to guard.
I got this now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will bark and scare that vehicle away. If it gets any closer, I'm going to go bite its tires. Whatever the dog's thinking, but a lot of it comes down to the lack of confidence in the owner.
It does.
So if we can just keep walking, correct the dog for paying attention to those distractions, and just keep walking, the dog realizes, oh, everything's fine, and I'm getting corrected for that. So with repetition, the dogs leave that stuff alone.
Yep.
And now they realize everything's fine.
They'll look at you. You will start to notice, especially when it comes to like reactive dogs and dogs at resource guard. They will start to look to you, like during walks and like trips out and going to the baseball field. Like when they hear something loud, or if they hear like somebody screaming, or a loud truck going by, like they'll start to like look at you. Is everything okay? Yeah. Like
they're checking in
with you. Are we cool?
You.
Is it good?
Yeah, exactly. They're
because
looking to you for guidance.
Yeah, because we have let them know that I'm the leader. You come to me. I'll let you know when it's your turn, basically. Like, the dog's gonna know. And I've had a lot of clients, I shouldn't say a lot, I've had a few clients ask this question, like, they've had some, reactive dogs and dogs at resource guard. Like, if something is happening and you need your dog to react, your dog's gonna know. Like, somebody's breaking into your home. Like, these are just examples, you're getting robbed, whatever. Something's happening in a moment where you're not, like, you need your dog's help. He's going to know. Your dog's going to know when to, like, come in to play. Like, okay, like, your body language, you screaming, like, stuff that you're not normally doing, he's going to know. So, like, for a lot of us pet owners that, like, I want my dog to take care, like, to react or, to like guard in a sense, like they're gonna know. So don't like be afraid to like correct the guarding in other situations, like not so serious situations. Don't be afraid to correct that, because in the end, if something is truly happening to you, your dog is going to know when to come into play.
Yeah. It's like that story of the lady with her Belgian Malinois. She was walking on a hiking trail, and a mountain lion came up and started attacking her. And her dog actually bit this mountain lion and like diverted the mountain lion's attention to it. So now the dog got attacked, and the lady was able to like beat the mountain lion. Mountain lion ended up running away. So the dog sensed that something was wrong. It's not just like every other scenario, like, oh, okay, I gotta leave it alone. My owner's getting bit by a mountain lion, but it's whatever. Or right. Like the screams and everything came into play. The dog knew, okay, I gotta protect my owner now.
Yeah.
Now this is serious.
Yep.
And that dog passed away, unfortunately. It was like a hero Malinois. It was posted all over the place. This was just a couple months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
It was a good story.
That's crazy.
But
yeah, they're going to know because they sense us. They know us. They know when we're, when we're letting off certain emotions. So, like, don't be hesitant to correct the guarding that we don't want them to guard, because they will know when it's their turn to protect. They just know. I don't know why. They just know. Because
body language is their thing.
Yeah.
So that was a lot about, like, the aggression stuff. Aggression, it's not real, true aggression, but it's just behavioral issues.
Yes.
So we talked a lot about that, but we just want you to know it's fixable. That stuff is fixable. We can correct it with time, repetition, and confidence.
Yeah.
And then it all starts in the house with structure.
Yeah.
Holding your dog accountable, limit affection, limit freedom.
And
have boundaries.
Yes, and put yourself in that leader role.
Yeah.
Don't fall into the littermate role. You need to be the leader. Let your dog know that firsthand. And a lot of this stuff won't even happen. If you really can, put yourself in that kind of role right as soon as you get your pet, I think a lot of this stuff can be not even happening.
Yeah.
You're basically you don't have to worry about the reactivity and the resource guarding, because right off the bat, you let your dog know, I'm in charge. You are below me. I am here.
And these are the rules.
Yeah. And that's where the strict structure comes into play.
And when you break the rules, this is what happens. And it's uncomfortable and it does not feel good.
Right.
So don't keep breaking the rules.
Yes.
And all we have to do is educate the dogs. So then the anxiety. Just remember, limit human affection. It's the number one thing. It all comes down to the way that you live with the dog in the house. Limit the affection. Limit the freedom. Hold the dog accountable for doing things. Establish yourself as a leadership role.
Yeah.
A lot of place time is needed for anxiety cases. A lot of downstay time. Teach your dog place. Teach your dog downstay. Teach them to just lay down, relax, and let the anxiety just melt away as they lay there.
Kennel. Yeah. Kennel too.
Crate time too, yeah.
Definitely
Absolutely.
Want some kennel time. Yep. Crate time, whatever.
The dog will realize that everything's fine, the pacing will stop, and they'll start to have more of a sound mind.
Yes.
And that addiction for affection will start to melt away as well.
Yes.
So I hope you guys were able to learn something today. I know we talked about the same thing over and over again, basically.
Yeah, but it's still a lot, though. Yeah, we do. Human infection is a big deal. And I don't think, like, us as pet owners realize that. Like, I don't think that we are educated. I wasn't educated until I met Timmy on human affection and holding your dog accountable and, like, human affection alone. Like, I had no idea that human affection can cause psychological issues in your dog. I had no idea. Like, this whole time I thought I had, like, really good dogs growing up. I didn't have good dogs. Like, they were messed up because we loved on them and we slept with them, and, like, it was crazy. Like, thinking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, those poor dogs.
And some dogs can handle that.
I mean, yeah, but you're right. Some dogs can.
Most dogs can't. Most dogs cannot.
Sorry, I didn't mean to, like, go off on a tangent on that, but, like, we do. I think that if we educated ourselves more on how the dog brain works and, like, their instincts and stuff like that, I do think that, like, we would have better relationships with our dogs, and
they would look to us more as a leader.
Yeah. Thank you.
They would follow us more. And when we ask the dogs to do something, they just need to listen.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible. I know some of you guys have some really bad dogs at home, and you need help with them.
It's not even that they're bad. It's just
they display some bad behaviors, I should say.
But they just haven't been taught.
Yeah. It's all consistency, strict rules at home, structure, establish yourself as a leader.
Yep.
Limit affection, limit freedom, hold them accountable when they do something wrong.
Yep.
We will see you guys next time.
Yes.
And we hope that you guys were able to learn something today.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.